This is a demonstration of experiment 2.2. The question is, are heat and temperature the same? For this experiment, we're going to use a heating element. We're going to use two heating elements, these two. And these heating elements have the same power. In fact, the power is 300 watt each. That means that when I use this heating element, it will heat up and give out, it's able to transfer 300 joules per second of electrical energy into heat energy. Okay, there we are. We're going to do our experiment. For that I prepared two cups or beakers, if you like. One beaker is filled with 400 milliliters of water and the other cup is filled with 600 milliliters. Now, before we can start the experiment, first we have to measure the starting temperature. Another thing we need to do to prepare ourselves for this experiment is to create a nice table in which you can record all the readings. Now I'm going to put those heating elements in the cup. This one is 22 and this one is also 22 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now I'm going to plug in the heating elements to the main supply, and at the same time I'm going to start my stopwatch. And now we have to wait. So there we go, and we beautifully see that the temperature is rising. Okay, at 2 minutes we see the cup with 400 milliliters has a temperature of 33 degrees Celsius and the cup with 600 milliliters has a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius. At 4 minutes we see that the cup with 400 milliliters water has a temperature of 45 and the cup with 600 milliliters 39 degrees Celsius. And at 10 minutes we see that the temperature of the cup with 400 milliliters is 100 degrees Celsius and boiling, and the cup with 600 milliliters of water has a temperature of 75 degrees Celsius. It's of course not a surprise that the cup with the least amount of water was the first one to boil. These are the results of this experiment. I'm going to put them in the table and share it with you at our Google Classroom. So, now you should be ready to answer the further research questions. You can find them in your digital reader. Answer them and then continue watching this video. Were you able to answer the questions correctly? Let's have a look. First question, what is the power of the heating element? Well, each heating element had a power of 300 watts. So the power of heating element 1 was 300 watts and power of heating element 2 was also to 300 watts. In which beaker did the water temperature increase the most? It was, of course, the beaker with the least amount of water. Explain why the temperature rise wasn't the same in both beakers. Well, the more substance you have, the more heat you need to let the temperature rise with 1 degree Celsius. So if I would do this experiment in a swimming pool, I would use a single heating element of 300 watt in a swimming pool. It would take quite a long time to increase the temperature with 1 degree Celsius. When I do this in a teacup, it goes much quicker. Explain that this experiment proves that heat and temperature are different quantities. At this experiment, we see clearly that we use the same amount of heat energy to heat up 2 cups of water. But the temperature rise fully depends on the amount of water. So when the amount of water is not the same, temperature rise is different. So therefore, temperature and heat energy are 2 different quantities.